The second opinion, which is now the opinion that I follow, is the opinion that invoking the saints, it is haram, and it is evil, and it is an evil innovation, a religious innovation, a bid'ah, and it is a stepping stone to shirk. It is opening the doors to shirk, but it is not shirk in and of itself, unless that action is accompanied by a belief that you're calling out to a God. It is accompanied by a belief that you are deifying that entity that you are calling.
So invoking is considered to be shirk on the Day of Judgment. And this is what the Prophet said, ad-du'a'u huwa al-ibadah. Invoking, making dua is worship. Not a form of worship, no, is worship. This is the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Do not take knowledge from the likes of me or the likes of him. Take knowledge from real scholars. This quote unquote renowned scholar, he's a da'i. He does not qualify to be a scholar. He's a student of knowledge.
Brother Nawaz from India, he emails a very lengthy question describing certain issues that are going on in his area, in his district, and mentioning some of the sectarian problems that are happening in his homeland. But in particular, there's a question that is of very relevance to us. And he mentions that in his particular town, the majority of people follow a interpretation of Islam in which they are encouraged to visit the graves and to invoke the saints for their needs. And he is saying that recently he has come across a new, scholar, he has not heard of this, new group, and he mentions it by name. And he has benefited from this group and online and whatnot. And this new group is saying that the practices of his culture and of his people are actually shirk. And that anybody who does these types of practices of invoking the saints is in fact committing shirk. So now he is emailing me asking that he has heard a number of my lectures, and now what does he do, because his family and his entire society is involved in these rulings. But today's topic is to call out and say, Ya Ali Madad, Ya Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, Ya Rasulullah, give me this, do that, prevent this. So this answer today is about a very clear-cut scenario, and that is to call out to other than Allah and to ask something from the being that you are calling out, and to ask something of this world or even of the next life, like something that you ask him and you expect your request to be responded to. Now, with regards to this question, academically speaking, just purely academically speaking, there are three primary opinions that are found within scholarly circles that claim to be Sunni. Okay, three primary opinions amongst groups of ulama, and they all claim that they are Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The second opinion, which is now the opinion that I follow, the second opinion is the opinion that invoking the saints, it is haram, and it is evil, and it is an evil innovation, a religious innovation, a bid'ah, and it is a stepping stone to shirk. It is opening the doors to shirk, but it is not shirk in and of itself, unless that action is accompanied by a belief that you're calling out to a God. It is accompanied by a belief that you are deifying that entity that you are calling. So, opinion 2 says that the action is evil and haram and bid'ah and munkar and a stepping stone to shirk, but it is not necessarily shirk in and of itself. And if a person has a particular aqeedah or belief about the one they are calling, then it becomes shirk. And if they have another aqeedah or belief, then it is haram, but it does not become in and of itself shirk. It is dangerous, and it is something we warn against. But in and of itself, it is not going to be shirk unless the person doing it believes that they are worshipping a being that is worthy of worship, that has independent powers, that has the powers of a God. And this is the position of the majority of modern day Malikis for sure. This is the Maliki madhab. And it is also many of the Hanafi scholars and really a lot of the Shafi'i scholars of Egypt and Syria. And in terms of the strands of Sunnah Sunnism. This is the default position of the Deobandi movement as well. And it is also the position of many of the scholars of Al-Azhar and other famous institutions, that they would say that it is haram and it is evil and it is a stepping stone to shirk, but that it is not in and of itself shirk unless the action is associated with a belief, or it is accompanied by a belief that is going to be a belief of shirk, and therefore the action will then also become an action of shirk. And as I said, I myself am now an advocate of this second position. I used to be 1B, and now I am very staunchly in opinion 2.
Mehwish says that there is a renowned da'i in the US who says that asking intercession from dead people or from graves is not a shirk by itself, yet it is a means of shirk, and that it would be prohibited, haram, but it is not shirk. Unless the person who's asking for such intercession has the intention to call them as gods. So, what is the ruling on that? First of all, do not take knowledge from the likes of me or the likes of him. Take knowledge from real scholars. This quote unquote renowned scholar, he's a da'i. He does not qualify to be a scholar. He's a student of knowledge. So there are so many of us. We are fortunate to be famous because Allah has blessed us with this gift, and after that with the media. Had it not been to Peace TV, Huda TV, Zat TV, Islam Channel, Iqra, etc., and the social media, nobody would have known anything about us. So I'm telling you this, when you want to take knowledge, proper knowledge, especially when it comes to Aqidah, don't go to Tom, Dick, and Harry. Don't go to people who keep on switching in the books of the Salaf. They reported that Imam Malik ibn Anas was approached by a man of the people of innovation. So he said, stop, Imam, let me debate with you. So Imam Malik had some time on his free time, so he said, okay, then what? So the man says, if I beat you in my argument, in debate, you follow me. And if I don't beat you and you beat me, I follow you. So Imam Malik says, okay, let's assume I followed you and you beated me. Then we both met someone who debated with us and he beated us. So the man says, we follow him. He said, my son, the religion of Allah is one. And I see that you keep on hopping from one religion to the other. This is not Islam. So those who adopt for most of their life a particular opinion, then they change to a second opinion. Well, give them some time and they will change to a third opinion. Are these people worthy of being followed in matters of Aqidah? Definitely not. Now, Mehwish says that it's permissible. I doubt he says it's permissible. I would suggest or presume that he said it is not shirk, but it is prohibited. Because if he says that it is permissible, then he would have gone to the dark side, which is the super Sufis who believe and worship truly the graved people. But he thinks that it's a sinful thing, but it's not shirk. And why would someone say that? Nowadays, we are in an era where people compromise their religion. So in order to gather as many people around us and to gather as many followers, being a tolerant person, advocating of tolerance, being okay with all strands of the society, they compromise their own religion. So they try to walk a very thin line. And they say we cannot label people as mushrik because there's so many of them. Well, Allah Azza wa Jalla labeled them in the Quran when He said, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُم مُشْرِكُونَ. The vast majority of them, of the people, the inhabitants of earth, would not believe in Allah except while committing shirk. What is their belief in Allah Azza wa Jal? It's the same belief of the pagans and the idol worshippers. Are you serious? Yeah. The pagans and the idol worshippers used to believe that Allah is the provider, that Allah is the giver of life and death, that Allah is the creator, that Allah is the facilitator of their affairs. It's all over the Quran. If you read the Quran, don't look to scholar so-and-so different with scholar so-and-so. Go to the sources. The Quran says to us in black and white that pagans and idol worshippers believed in Allah Azza wa Jal. This is their belief, but they associated others with Him through invoking them. And nowhere in the Quran, if you read it from cover to cover, that you will find a distinction or segregation between when you make dua to someone who's dead, thinking that he's capable or not capable of your intention. Dua is dua. Allah says in many places that they invoke others than Allah. He did not call them gods in these ayahs. Allah says clearly that they invoke other than Allah and they don't have any benefit for them or can protect them from any evil. And on the day of judgment, they will distance themselves from their shirk. So invoking is considered to be shirk on the day of judgment. And this is what the Prophet said, ad-du'a'u huwa al-ibadah. Invoking, making dua is worship, not a form of worship, no, is worship. This is the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So if you go to the disbelievers, to the idol worshippers, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, none of them would say to you that I am worshiping this idol because I believe that it creates, it gives life and takes it. I believe it facilitates my affairs. I believe rain comes through it. Nobody says this. They know that only Allah does this. And this is Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. So for this so-called quote-unquote scholar to come and claim that when I go to Tijani or Jilani or Sidna al-Badawi or to Al-Hussein or to the Prophet himself, and I make dua to them, that I don't believe in them to be gods, this is exactly what the idol worshippers used to do. Allah says in the beginning of Surah Az-Zumar that we do not worship them except so that they would get us closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Why are you calling Al-Hussein to help you? Because he can call Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is the identical shirk that the idol worshippers used to do. And if you say, no, Sheikh, you are judging their intention. Excuse me? Why is this person invoking Al-Hussein or Al-Tijani or Al-Jilani or Al-Badawi, the dead, the grave? Why are they going to Dargah and sacrificing to them and lighting lights and candles? Why are they making tawaf? Why are they asking them? Isn't this worshipping them? Or do they have to prostrate so that you can say, oh, no, this is worshipping? This is why I say, do not, and I repeat, do not take knowledge from such people. These people who keep on changing their colors according to the highest bidder. So if they're in America, they say what the Americans want to say, to hear. If they go to Europe, if they go to Africa, they will be the same thing. Whatever draws followers and likes and gives them fame. So their intention is with Allah. But you as a Muslim, you should depend on the Quran. And you should ask trusted scholars of Aqeedah if you want to be saved on the day of judgment, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best.